everybody. Happy Friday night. Welcome to my Zen Den. My name is Mandy Van Havermont, and I am an independent demonstrator with Stampin Up from Gray Eagle, Minnesota. I'm so happy that you joined me tonight. I'm going to talk about, I've been keeping it under my hat for a while now, but I am going to talk about the color refresh, and I am so excited about the color refresh. Mostly because of two reasons, right? Can you say Pretty Peacock and Berry Burst? Oh, I'm so excited for those two colors to come back. Tonight I'm going to actually be making a couple of cards using Pretty Peacock because I'm just so excited about it. And they did include it in the Hello Irresistible online exclusive designer series paper that you can get actually right now. Otherwise, you will be available to get the actual cardstock and all the ink pads and things like that, starting with a new catalog coming up on May 2nd. So I'm going to flip the camera around, and I'm going to get talking right away about the color refresh. So bear with me while I adjust my camera. And I like to, new catalogs always mean something really exciting for me, and those are color clubs and paper shares and things like that. So because the color refresh, I've got a couple of options for the color club because it can be overwhelming, and I get that. So the first thing I'm going to show you is these are the new core colors. There's actually 11 new core colors, but one of them is Fresh Freesia. I think they did that just to trick me in my tied up tongue. But there are 10 new in colors, or I'm sorry, 11 new core colors. Wow. And so these are those right there. We've got Azure Afternoon, Berry Burst, Blueberry Bushel, Bubble Bath, Fresh Freesia, Lemon Lime Twist, Lemon Lolly, Lost Lagoon, Misty Moonlight, Pecan Pie, or Pecan Pie, depending on how you say it, and of course, Pretty Peacock. So I've got a few clubs that I'm going to be starting up here. I'm going to post all of these onto my Facebook page. So if you don't catch all of it, that's okay. With what I present here, they will be posted on my Facebook page. The first is the new core color club. We will be doing, I'm going to take Fresh Freesia out of the core color club. If you want Fresh Freesia, you can get it, and I will honor the price of $20 per color, but I'm not going to make it mandatory because a lot of people already have it since it's current right now with our in colors that are going out. But with the core color club, you're going to get a half a pack of each color of cardstock, the stamp pad, an ink refill, and everything you need to create an in color project. And you're going to get 2 of those per month. So you're going to get, like, for instance, I'm not sure how I'm going to do it. It depends on inventory and things like that. If something's out, I'm going to skip around a little bit, but I'll start probably right at the top. Azure Afternoon and Berry Burst. So you'll get a half a pack of each of those card stocks, and stamp pad, an ink refill, and a card project for $40 per month. It's a 5-month commitment, and I'll post the more details on my site. And then we've got the in color clubs, and I've got 2 different in color clubs. One is very similar to the core color club, where you get a half pack of cardstock, the stamp pad, the ink refill, and everything to create a project for $20 per month. And then I've got the super duper in color club, which is more similar to how I normally do an in color club. This one you'll get a full pack of cardstock, the ink or the stamp pad, the ink refill, the blends, a spool of textured ribbon, and the Stampin' Right markers. You're also going to get a coordinating portion of the DSP pack, and then everything you need to create an in color project, and that is $50 per month. These are the new in colors, by the way. We've got Copper Clay, Wild Wheat, Boho Blue, Moody Mauve, and Pebbled Path. I think they are so beautiful together. I am so excited to create with those. And then I've got my paper share. And I've got, for $50, you're going to get basically a quarter pack of all of the designer series papers that are in the new catalog, along with a quarter pack of the soft shimmer combo for $50. So they'll be cut down to 6x6 so that the shipping is a little easier and the storage, but they will be available also. All this will be available on my Facebook page. So don't worry if you missed out on any of that. If you're watching this on YouTube, I will link back to this Facebook group so that you can find out about my clubs. Okay, let's get creating. I am using the Hello Irresistible Designer Series paper. And this, when I looked at this Designer Series paper pack, I thought it was very feminine. Whoa, things are flying all over. It's a beautiful pack of paper. Some really neat colors. Don't put the little pieces inside, Mandy. Good gravy. Let's try that one more time. Nice colors. Flowery goes with the Hello Irresistible suite. But I wanted to make some cards using the Pretty Peacock. I should have taken all my scraps out first, shouldn't I have? The colors that are inside of here are Daffodil Delight, Flirty Flamingo, Lost Lagoon, so that's a new color also, Petal Pink, Pretty Peacock, and Soft Seafoam. So, awesome pack of paper that is available exclusively online. I'm going to pair that tonight with Wildlife Wonder, which is kind of a masculine set, but really fun. And the Stylish Shapes dies. So, let's get creating on our first card. I have got a Pretty Peacock ink pad along with basic gray. Let's see here. And here's my cheat sheet. Let's make sure you can see that. Okay, so I've started out with a piece of basic gray, and this is 7.5 by 5.5. And this is scored at 4 1/4 from one side. So it's going to be a fun fold. It's going to be a little short on this side. It's going to be an inch shorter. So keep that in mind. Then I've got a piece of Pretty Peacock that is 3 by 5 1/4. I've got a piece of the Designer Series paper from that Hello Irresistible pack that is 1 by 5 1/4. I've got a piece of basic white for the inside that is 3 by 5 1/4. And then I've got a pretty decent sized scrap of basic white and a pretty decent sized scrap of Night of Navy. So, things are flying all over the place. All right, so we're going to fold and burnish that. And we are going to attach this piece of Designer Series paper right about 1/8 inch from each edge of the inside. So it looks like that. So when we fold that shut, isn't that just pretty? I love the look of Pretty Peacock. It just makes me so stinking happy. And this is going to be a blank card on the inside. If you wanted to put something on the inside, you totally could. But I'm going to basically, it's almost right up against, but there's a little bit of a gap between the two pieces there. And we'll keep that shut. I am also going to be using, available online right now. They're actually out of stock right now, but they're coming back, I do believe, the beginning of May. It's called the Basic 3D Embossing Folder Pack. Really, really pretty embossing folders. Let me show you what they look like here. One of them is just like a polka dot kind of look. It's very, very cool. This one is kind of a flowery kind of, but not flower. Maybe a star. I don't know. It's really neat. It's kind of, I feel a little bit more feminine, but not super feminine. It's not flowers by any means. And then there's this really cool one that is my favoritist of all of them. Favoritist. It is kind of just a hash mark, and that's the one we're going to use tonight. So I'm going to put my Pretty Peacock piece in there. And I'm going to run it through my cut and emboss machine. So I'll show you they are 3D embossing folders. So with a 3D embossing folder, we're going to use this formula right there. So I've got my plate number 1, and I've got my plate number 4 here, and I'm going to put that right in the middle. And I like to have my seam going forward. That helps to keep your embossing folder in better shape. So I'm going to run that through my cut and emboss machine quick. So when I bring that back, it is just a beautiful, and you can use it either way. You can have it embossed or debossed. I like it this way. That's the way I'm going to attach it down. So I'm going to put that right down just like that. And how many times, I say it all the time, I love card making because there's no right way and there's no wrong way. If you want those hash marks bumping up, by all means, bump those hash marks up. It's all in what you want to do. Okay, so we've got our card base all set. We are going to do some stamping. So I've got the wolf stamp out of the Wildlife Wonder. And I am going to also use the sentiment for all the great things you do. Okay, and I'm going to pull out of my Stylish Shapes dies here. I'm going to pull the two bigger circles out. I am having a fumble day. I've had a fumble week. It's just everything I touch kind of falls apart. Whew. Okay, so Basic Gray and Pretty Peacock. Basic Gray is awesome. It's the nice dark gray. We are going to ink our wolf up very nice. Just tap him on there. You don't have to push too hard, but do give it just a little bit of time to put the nice ink on to your surface. And now our Pretty Peacock for all the great things you do. Same thing, we're just going to tap, tap, tap on our ink pad and right there. Oh, that is just a phenomenal color combination. I love it. All right, so I'm going to make a large circle out of the Night of Navy, and I am going to surround this guy just like that. Okay, so let's pull in our cut and emboss machine, and for cutting, of course, let's do this. We're going to use this sandwich for cutting. So we've got plate number 1, plate number 2, and 2 plate number 3s. And I'm going to put I'm going to do them both at the same time. I am going to use a piece. My plate is getting kind of warped, so I'm going to grab a sticky note here just to make sure it doesn't move as I'm cutting. And let's do it on that side. Put a little better even pressure. And so then put plate number 3, and let's run that through the cut and emboss machine. Perfect. Okay, let's set those aside. Better put those back on my magnet. With my luck, you know, I lose things. I don't know if you knew that, but I lose things. Okay, let's grab some dimensionals. And I'm going to bump my wolf up. Like so. And something to be mindful of the Basic Gray also is that color is going to cure just a little bit and lighten up. It looks really dark right now, but it will lighten up and match more of the paper tone as it sits. So I am going to leave that off just a little bit. So we have to be mindful not to put any adhesive right here. Okay, we're going to put it right about there and there. So I'm going to flip him that direction. And I'm basically centering it side to side on the card, which means that it's going to go off of my opening just a smidge. Does that look good? That looks great to me. All right, so that's how it will open. Is that not the coolest card? Let's add a little bit of manly bling. I'm going to use the Rustic Metallic Adhesives dots. And I know usually I tell you to put them in odd numbers. But, you know, sometimes I like to break my own rules. And I kind of liked the look of just putting 2 there and 2 there. I thought that was kind of neat. And so that is how I designed my card. So I'd like to take a screenshot of the recipe and the finished card. We'll move on to the second one, which is also a pretty basic card, but I'm kind of sticking with the same color combinations just because I liked that color combination. So I've got a piece, this is a piece of the Designer Series paper. I'm going to show you how I'm going to cut it. I've got a piece of 8.5 by 5.5 Night of Navy. I've got a piece of basic white that is 3 3/4 by 5. And then I'm going to cut this Designer Series paper to 3.5 by 4 3/4. And then I've got a piece of basic white for the inside. Here again, this is going to be a thank you card. It's going to be blank on the inside. So I'm just going to adhere my basic white onto the inside while I'm... Now that's done. Let's fold and burnish that. Okay. So let's cut our Designer Series paper. And I am a huge fan of Designer Series paper that has a scene on it where you can basically create a card using that scene. So that's what we're going to do. So 3 3/4 that direction. Now I've got a nice piece here for a later project. And I am going to cut off the bottom portion. So I'm going to cut that at 5. And now I've got this nice, it looks, I don't know, does it look kind of like the ocean? Does it look kind of like a meadow? I don't know what it looks like, but I think it's pretty. That's what it looks like to me. Pretty. All right, and now I'm going to show you a trick. So I'm going to pull in my scrap of Night of Navy from before, but I'm going to use my basic white from in here. So where I've got my stamp that says a note of thanks, and I'm going to grab my pretty peacock, and I'm going to do something that you guys are just going to be so shocked about. I'm stamping right smack dab in the middle, like that. I know, I never do that, but I'm doing it today because I am going to show you a trick. So now I'm going to pull back my stitch shapes, or stylus shapes, and I'm going to take the square that is the second to smallest, because I don't think, yeah, my smallest one is way too small. Or not way too small, but quite small. So I'm going to cut this out of the middle, just like that. Do I want to put it that way? No, I'm not going to put it that way. We're going to go square. So let's grab my sticky note. And I'm going to run that through the cut and emboss machine. And then I'm also going to make another square out of the Night of Navy. So I'm going to be making 2 passes through my cut and emboss machine. And I want to also tell you, this is a nice square line, so you're probably going to want to do this and canter it. It's going to be easier on your cut and emboss machine. It's going to be easier on your die. It's going to be easier on your plates, because the path of least resistance, right? That corner is easier to get through than that big line, and it'll save it from doing that big crack that we all hate. See, there was no crack because that was the easiest way for it to go through. So always put your corners through first. So now I'm going to use this yet. Okay, and here we're going to do another, and I'm going to send it through like that, corner first. And I don't need that. I don't need it to necessarily stay exactly in the right spot. So I don't need to use the Post-it note. All right. So that went through just beautifully. Put that back on my magnet. All right. So, I did this at 3 1/4 by 5. We're going to do this at 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. You guys didn't tell me. How about we cut a 1/2 inch off of each side, or a 1/4 inch off of each side? That'll make it a lot better. Let's take it off the top. 4 3/4. Aren't you glad I have a recipe here? All right. So now doesn't that look so much better? So I've covered up my hole. That is a great trick for paper saving if you're going to layer things. If you're covering this up, you can cut it right out of the center. something to remember. So let's adhere this down. Every time I do that trick, I think of my good friend Deb, because she taught that to me, and she is the queen of paper saving. And I hope her husband heard me say that. Deb's a queen. Okay, so now I'm taking, this ribbon is called the bordered ribbon. Bordered ribbon. It is kind of a bluish color. It's kind of more of a denim color. I don't know that it is necessarily Night of Navy, but it's very cool. And I'm just tying a knot in there. And my knot, I'm trying to make 2 flat pieces come out of it. Sometimes knots are easy, sometimes knots are not. Sometimes knots are naughty. I was actually watching Little House on the Prairie last night with my husband, and Pa was making dad jokes, and I thought, wow, they're a thing that they're old. If Little House on the Prairie was making dad jokes, man. All right, so just kind of make it a nice knot. And this is a great way. It will mail through. It'll go through the mail pretty easy. Won't wreck your card, anything like that. So that is what I'm going to do. I'm going to snip this off just like that. Put a couple of spots of adhesive on the back of my card. And then I'm going to, let's see, I like it this way better. So I'm going to place my knot where I want it to be, and then just flip the edges back like that, and like that. So kind of a neat way to use a ribbon, especially if it's a ribbon that ties. Some of them tie better than others, but this I thought was kind of a neat way to add a little bit of a interest point. So now we will adhere this, good gravy, onto our card. I love the color of the Night of Navy with the pretty peacock. I think it is so pretty. I think anything with pretty peacock is pretty, but okay. So now I've got my note of thanks, and I think what I'm going to do is do that, like that. And I'm not going to use any dimensionals. I know, right? It's a thing. I can do that sometimes, not use dimensionals. Today's the day. And just like that. And then I will put that on. Like that. Isn't that neat? Oh, I like that card. I think that turned out so cool. All right, and let's put a couple brushed brass on there again, because I like them too. And maybe more small one down, about down there. Perfect. All right, so there is card number 2. So those are my 2 cards for tonight. Aren't they fun? And I think this stamp set is one that kind of gets overlooked a little bit. It's a really neat stamp set. I love that bear. He's so handsome. So let me flip the camera around and say goodbye. Joanne loses things too. Joanne can't lose things. I don't believe it. Nobody ever loses things when they're crafting. I don't know what you're talking about. All right. So anyhow, I hope you guys have a great weekend. If you have any questions, I am going to post the color clubs and the paper share on my Facebook page. So if you have any questions, please, please, please reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you have. Otherwise, I hope you have a fantastic weekend, and I hope you get some crafting in, and we will see you back here next Friday night. Thanks. Bye-bye.